Hi, I'm Melissa Biltz, and along with my son Jason, we are excited to welcome you to Sweet Fire Sugar Bush. This is a family farm that's operated by the entire Biltz family, but Jason and I are the operators or the producers for Sweet Fire Sugar Bush maple products. And we just want to give you a tour of the farm and a tour of our operations as we go along. Mid-February, we have a group of people come that help us put in our taps, and we have over 800 taps connected to over 15 miles of line that runs throughout our woods, which requires maintenance and annual tapping, as well as annual removal of the taps. But these lines all go into a main line, which feeds into our vacuum system and our main collecting point.
These are our sap lines coming in from the woods into our pump house. There's our vacuum and our pump.
It's mesmerizing to come in and watch the sap flow in from the trees into this collection point. So we'll just take a few seconds here to watch the sap flow in.
And then this releaser shoves the sap up the hill into our big bulk tank. That may look like water, but that is maple sap. So what I'm doing here is I'm reconnecting everything, and I had to have electric heat tape around that valve so it would not freeze, but we have sap. The sap is frozen there. It'll start flowing here as the temperatures warm up outside, and so I'm just trying to unthaw some of the valves so I can get them turned up. So let's see how this is doing here. And it's still a little frozen, so not sure why that heat tape's not working. The sun doesn't hit over here, so just need to get that out. Oh, it's warming up, so it'll thaw out. So as soon as that thaws out, I'm gonna fire up this RO, but need to make sure all my valves are right so I don't blow any lines. So right now the sap flows from that tank through this big pipe right here. And since there's no noise, we have a pre-filter here that gets out any leaves or bugs that might be in the sap. So this RO machine it removes 75% of the water from the sap to give us a concentrated sap. And it took me a while to figure out these valves, but the sap flows in, and then right here it's going to flow through and goes into the motor, which then pumps the fluid up through these different hoses through a secondary filter. It's going to remove things, and then once it goes through the RO, we have the permeate, which goes up, fills these tanks with water, and there's a total of 5 totes here. And then from this line, the concentrate goes out and through that line, and it's going to flow into those tanks there, and that'll be the first time it runs through the RO. After it goes through those and shuts off from that big bulk tank, we will run this, open this back up, and have the concentrate go back through the RO again to give us a higher concentrated sap. And that has proved to be very efficient. We use less wood in the process to burn the sap to get syrup, and has also proved to be an efficiency of time. And so since Jason is working full-time, we have to make it to where he can boil the syrup in the evenings and still do his engineering job during the day.
Monitoring and recording along the way is very important. And so here we have to watch how many gallons per minute are flowing through the RO, as well as what the sugar concentration is in our sap before it runs through the RO and after it runs through the RO. So lots of science here.
Now we taste the sap. A little sweeter than the first test. So here's the first valve. So once the sap leaves the RO, the concentrated sap, it's going to come down and feed into this old milk tank in the woods. And from there, it's gravity flow into our sugar house. And the valve I need to check is down here. So we want to close these valves to make sure the sap, concentrated sap, does not flow onto the ground. So did have some dripping there, so that line is starting to thaw out. You introduce yourself.
I'm Jason Bills. It's fed down from the RO, down gravity into a storage tank that's in the woods there. Fed then into this holding tank, and the holding tank feeds the evaporator. So this is the final stage of making syrup. So we're taking it from like 12% sugar concentration up to 67% here, just by boiling it and removing the rest of the water.
So how many gallons of sap does it take to make a gallon of syrup?
We've got like 1.1% sugar concentration coming out of the woods, which ends up being around 70 gallons of sap to make a gallon of syrup. So we gotta take a bunch of water off.
And what kind of trees are you tapping?
We like to go for like the all hardwoods, oaks, hickory, maple trees. Of course, it's maple trees.
And
sugars, red. We don't really have many like silvers or any of that, but yeah, sugar maple's the best. It's got the highest sugar concentration.
so can you live anywhere and find these maple trees?
Pretty much wherever you'd have a maple tree, you could tap it. Depending on where you're at, you might not get a very long season for it. Basically, the longer it takes for it to go from dormancy to budding, the longer your season will be. If it's a really quick process, then your season will be a lot shorter.
So if I live in Southern California, is there a possibility of me making maple syrup?
If you got a maple tree in Southern California, I'd be surprised. I'd say no.
Thanks, Jason. Oh,
Yep.
so how do you heat this?
We use wood. This doesn't look like wood, but it's just compressed hardwood sawdust. We're just getting it fired up.
So today's the day of our open house. What are we doing here?
Starting a fire. We'll be people sitting around the fire eating some Crazy Nate's barbecue.
You can have a fire here like this?
Anywhere, man. As long as you got a fire ring and some water, you cool it down.
Hi, my name is Karen, and I work with the Holmes County Soil and Water Conservation District.
Trevor Berger, also with Holmes County Soil and Water.
We're out on a beautiful day in Ohio on one of a great agricultural producers operation. The maple syrup that's being produced here at the Sweet Fire Sugar Bush is definitely an agricultural commodity, and it's also a great way to practice conservation on their ground. So we like to help farmers and people who own rural properties with how they manage for invasive species, how they manage their water, or if they have a more traditional farm with livestock or crops, then we can talk to them about how they manage the products that they produce there as well. Today we get to see the process of making maple syrup from tap to plate pretty much, and it's really exciting to see everything that the Biltzes have done here. They do a good job of managing species like grapevine and honeysuckle and other invasives from taking over the woodlands. They manage to keep their maple trees nice and healthy, so they cut out some of the more undesirable tree species that would compete for the same water, air, and nutrients that the maples need to do really well. We see them manage their hillsides to prevent erosion, and that's something really beneficial for water quality and everything that lives in the streams around here. And they just do an overall great job of outreach to the community about why they love this and how it helps everybody. Ohio is one of the top maple producing states in the whole country, so we couldn't be where we are without them.
We take our maple syrup and turn it into yummy treats like maple sugar-coated nuts, which come in 5 different nuts. And then we also make maple cream. And maple cream is made by cooking the syrup to a higher temperature and then turning it once it gets cold, and it turns into a wonderful confectionery treat, which is great on crackers, fruit, however you want to use it. My favorite is on the spoon. We also make barbecue rubs using our maple sugar, and that maple sugar is made by cooking to an even higher temperature and stirring it while it's hot and let it crystallize. We hope you have enjoyed our virtual open house, and if you get a chance, try any of our products. We can be found at sweetfiresugarbush.com.